Hey, teacher friends. I made a post a while ago about scheduling your IEP meetings at the beginning of the year, scheduling them all out at the beginning of the year. And we created a spreadsheet in order for us to do that and make it easy. And I asked if you guys wanted to see it, and here it is. So I'm going to explain it. First, we start here with the meeting date. Then you have, of course, the meeting time. And these are all, of course, proposals because you're doing this at the beginning of the year and things happen. You've got, dates for things that happen throughout the school year where like there's bad weather and there's no school or, other things like that. So this is a fluid document. It's meant to be updated as needed, calendar checked. Our principal always asks us to refer back to the master calendar before we schedule meetings so that we're not scheduling meetings on a day where we've got a bunch of school events going on. So, like a literacy parade or things of that nature. That way, there aren't any conflicts and we have to reschedule meetings. SPED teacher, case manager, I think that one's pretty explanatory, as well as student and grade. The meeting type is usually the annual IEP or it's a re-eval. In some cases, depending on when that happens, it could actually be both. Either way, you could put annual, you could put re-eval, you could put both, or whatever you call them in your district. The duration of the meeting is again an estimate. We like to err on the higher side just to make sure that we have enough time. Usually an annual for us can take about an hour. It just really depends on the student and the number of goals and service providers that are included. But typically we usually schedule annuals for about an hour. If it's an annual and a re-eval included, then we usually do an hour and a half. If it's just a re-eval, we usually will do about 30 minutes. But again, it just kind of depends on who all is going to be invited. The more people you invite, of course, the longer we extend that meeting time. And again, this is just a general idea and what has been working for us. The gen ed teacher, if you are resource or push in, pull out, then that is of course whomever they are rostered to as the gen ed teacher. If you are a self-contained teacher, that would be what we did was whomever we were inviting to be the gen ed representative is the name of the teacher that we would put there. Coverage needed, depending on the time of the meeting, the gen ed teacher may need coverage. Typically, full-time teachers and resource teachers or really special ed teachers, we typically did not because we always have a para, and the para typically runs the classroom until we get back. But gen ed teachers don't have that assistance, so we're either pulling them during their planning time or some other time during the day, and they may or may not need coverage depending on when that is. Which LEA will attend at our school, in our district? We have principals and assistant principals that are allowed to attend IEP meetings as the LEA. Your district may be a little bit different. Again, this document is shared with all the SPED teachers, the SPED providers, and administrators with the general thought, the hope that the LEAs will go in and assign themselves to the meetings that they know for sure that they can attend based on the dates and the times that we have listed on this spreadsheet. The rest of the columns were just for my purposes, essentially. I am also the ESC team leader, and a lot of times the secretary at the front of the school calls me and says, "Hey, I have such and such parent up here, and they're trying to find out where they need to go for their child's IEP meeting." Sometimes I know the answer to that, sometimes I don't, but I can pull this spreadsheet up and give them an idea of who the case manager is and possibly where they need to go. Another row or column that you could add into this is location of the meeting, especially if you've got several places that meetings are held on your campus. Date, invitation sent home, I think is also pretty self-explanatory. That's the date that the invitation is sent to parents, and then when parents confirm that they will or will not attend. Really, this is for if parents confirm that they will attend. If they send the invitation back and say they're not going to be able to attend, but we can proceed with the meeting, then we usually put a note there that says, parent will not attend. Otherwise, the date that the parent confirmed, the IEP or re-eval due date, whichever one you're meeting for, and then service providers needed. So that's your OT, your occupational therapist, PT, physical therapist, SLP, so your speech and language pathologist, AT assistive tech, any of those additional service providers. Oh, and behavior as well could be added right there. And again, this is used so for a number of reasons. Filling this out, you could also come from this document and create your Outlook invitation, which we are, I don't want to say required to use, but it's preferred that we use Outlook invitations for the district employees. So all service providers as well as administrators. This way, everybody has the meeting on their calendar and there's no trying to figure out, how we're going to schedule it. In the title of the Outlook meeting, we just put meeting dash student's first initial last name, and then in the description is where we put whether it's an IEP meeting or an annual meeting, or if it's a reval, or if it's both. We can also put if the parent will attend or not, as well as any additional service providers or anybody else. Sometimes parents may say, "I'm not going to be able to attend, but I want to send my mom or my husband or whomever in my place because I won't be able to attend." So that's typically where we kind of put that information. Again, just another form of communication so that everybody invited to the meeting has an idea of what's going on. Outlook is also a place where you could put the location of the meeting as well. If you guys don't know what Outlook is, it is a calendar created by Microsoft 365, which is what my district uses. We are not allowed to use Google. So all of our things have to be created in Microsoft 365. Just a few other notes about kind of how we manage this. Typically, after a meeting has been held, we go in and we gray out that student's row. Not, like super dark gray. It's just kind of a light gray so that we can still see everything in all of the columns, but we gray it out, and that's how we all know as a team that that meeting has been held. And we can also see what's still left, especially if you're looking at FTE or things of that nature and you're just trying to figure out what's still kind of out there. This gives you a good idea. We also share, like I said, we share the document with all of the service providers as well as our administrators, just to keep everybody on the same page. Occasionally, you may have like your reading interventionist or something may be asked to attend the meeting, and that might be something that you put under, like you could make an extra column and have additional notes, and that's something that you could put over there in that column, that parents that request that the reading interventionist attend the meeting, or maybe the principal has requested that, or what. We also try to make changes to this document regularly because things are happening, and the main purpose outside of communicating this with everybody, the main purpose is to keep us from double booking our service providers and our administrators in all of these meetings. This way we can all see, okay, and we typically try to keep it down to like 3 meetings a day max. It really, again, just depends on the student and the amount of people that are going to be there. Of course, longer meetings, we may try to only do one of those that day, versus maybe some shorter meetings like a re-eval, we might be able to squeeze in a couple of those. I also, as the ESE team leader, would send out monthly reminders. Hey, check the spreadsheet, make sure that it's up to date for this month, make sure that any changes that you've made have been updated to reflect what they are, so that we're all still on the same page and we're still not double booking. Included in that reminder might also be, don't forget to send meeting invitations home for the meetings that you have coming up in the next couple of weeks. Just a way to kind of help out, because I understand being in the classroom that, sometimes it's a lot, especially if you're a new teacher. And so I try to make it as easy and as quick and as simple as possible for my team. I am also the only person that goes in and resorts, and then that's the other thing too. So you don't necessarily have to worry about putting these meetings on the spreadsheet in chronological order. You can put them in, any order you want, and then you can have them sorted by chronological order once you have all of your meetings scheduled. Typically, though, we didn't do that. What we usually did was, like, when we met as a team, one person would say, okay, I've got, these 8 kids that I need to get scheduled. So they would propose dates and times for those. And then we would just kind of go around the table and take turns. And then that way we could see what dates were still available and times and stuff like that. Again, though, you can, of course, sort it. I would suggest maybe only having one person do that, especially if some other people on your team aren't as tech savvy, because you don't want to mess anything up and mess up your really long, exhausting work. There are also the other thing that I love about working in Excel. You can make a lot of these tabs drop down menus to help kind of speed things up. So for example, you could do the SPED case manager, that could be a drop down. Calendar check could be a drop down. Meeting type could be a drop down. Coverage needed could be a drop down. Which LEA could be a drop down. And I think that's probably about it that you want to do a drop down for. So that's it. I'm considering making this a product in my store. If you are interested, you think it's a great idea, please let me know. If you've got any questions or think that something should be added, or have any thoughts on how maybe we could make this better, I'm also open to that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know if you've got any questions.